Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So we're going to do the handicap analysis. I've got 3 videos to come this week for the handicap analysis. It's chasers, hurdlers, which is this video, and some from Highland as well that have caught my eye. Notably running at the Cheltenham Festival that I think could go to Punchestown or Fairy House, different races over there that I'd be quite keen on them in their respective races. So we'll start off with the hurdles, and we'll start off talking about Langan, who went up £10. Which initially when he won, I said, well, surely they go to Aintree next for the race that they won a few years ago after failing at Cheltenham. I was expecting him to go up 6 or 7 like he did last year when he won the Coral Cup. Now, obviously, I think he went up 7, didn't he, last year? And then this season he's dropped back those 7 and come back to off the same mark and won again. The handicapper was not going to allow that to happen this year. And I thought he just wasn't going to drop him next season. You know, come next season, wherever he runs, the handicap will go, nope, not dropping you. And he ends up maybe dropping him £2 over the whole season. The handicap has done it slightly differently to that. What he's gone, okay, you're going to go up £10 this year then. Now, even if they continue to drop him next season, because if they don't drop him next season, the handicapper will look stupid. Because people will say, how can you not drop him this season and yet you did last season? Are you admitting you made a mistake? Because the handicapper never admits to making mistakes. And I think he's given them those extra £3 this year to allow him to potentially drop him again next season if they did the same thing. They're not going to. If they did the same thing, he would drop him back those same pounds and say, look, he's now rated £3 higher, which is fair on what he's achieved. That said, as I was saying, I don't think they'll do that next year. I think next year, with Langan, they're now going to be trying all the graded races, and they're just going to be trying to win races now. They've got him 2 Cheltenham Festival wins, an Imperial Cup win, a second in a Martin Pipe. You know, that's a great career for any horse. They've done what they wanted with him. Now they can try and win graded races. And I think we'll see him next in the Aintree 2.5 mile grade 1. But with that in mind, they do have a ready-made replacement for the 2.5 handicap if she is fit. And that horse is Nurse Susan. If you remember, Nurse Susan was actually my horse for the Cheltenham Festival. She was going to be my best bet at the Cheltenham Festival. She was the one I was most confident on from the Lucky 15, from the Dan Skelton Lucky 15. And we still had a winner and a close second with Lo de Sud. Okay, Lemilos let us down. Nurse Susan would have still been my number 1 going into that. I'm really hoping she makes it to that 2.5 for Aintree. I'm pretty confident she's going to go very, very close in that. And hopefully, it's only you people listening to my videos that are actually aware of this, and we can still get a decent price about Nurse Susan for the 2.5 handicap at Aintree. That's all about if she's fit. I don't know what the situation is with her for the rest of the season. But if she does make it, it's this handicap hurdle here, the William Hill handicap hurdle, over 2.5 mile on Friday the 12th of April. The next horse I want to talk about is another Dan Skelton horse, Lo de Sud, who went up £3 to 138. Now, if Dan Skelton had not won so many races at Cheltenham and didn't look like he could be challenging Paul Nicholls for the trainer's title, I think they would put Lo de Sud away now. And I think they would come back for the Greatwood Hurdle next season. Greatwood Hurdle is worth... just apologies about my voice. I haven't been, or I'm not particularly well. So if it does sound a bit weird, that is because my voice is a bit weird. The Greatwood Hurdle, it's only actually worth 56 grand. I thought it was worth more than that. So maybe they won't put him away for the Greatwood Hurdle. I think they'll be coming back for the Scottish Champion Hurdle on Saturday the 20th of April, and they're trying to win that. I think they will win that. Lo de Sud, he wasn't given a bad ride, don't get me wrong, it was not a bad ride. Dan Skelton and Harry Skelton, I'm sure, said to themselves after the race, though, we're messed up. The race was run at a crawl, and then Absurd quickened past Lo de Sud. Lo de Sud still pulled clear of 3rd, and if you actually watch Harry closely, similarly to how he rode Langan, with Langan, he kept moving his horse to track those that were going well or to track the dangers, and it worked perfectly. At Cheltenham, in the county hurdle, he got there and he's like, there's nothing to my left. If you actually watch, he glances to his left, nothing coming to my left. I've got everything out, comfortable, beaten on my right. I can just keep riding as I am. He even looks at the big screen, I think, coming to the last, and still Absurd doesn't look like he's going to pick him up. And then that turn of foot from a horse behind him just catches Harry out, and Lo de Sud goes and gets beaten. I don't think 3 is enough at all for Lo de Sud. I think off the back of that county, if you took Absurd out and you asked... No, if you asked Harry to go and ride that again, he would win it. He would win it, he would go harder, and he would go up... I think he'd go up £8-9 for winning. So I think he's still £5 or £6 well in on what I think he... I think he'll end up in graded races next season. And they might as well go and win more prize money to get themselves towards that champion hurdle. Nope, to get themselves towards that champion trainer title, with Lo de Sud winning the Scottish champion hurdle. It is a handicap. 138 is not anywhere near the mark for Lo de Sud yet. Next horse I want to talk about is Lucky Place, who's gone up £3 to 140. Now, you've got to remember, he is trained by Nicky Henderson. And a lot of Nicky Henderson horses ran disappointingly. It's quite interesting, actually. I made a tweet after a couple of his horses had disappointed that we're all moaning about Langan being dropped being dropped, what was he, £7 over that season. How could you justify dropping any Nicky Henderson horse? And yet the BHA handicapper did. He did drop a couple of Nicky Henderson horses. Similarly, if Lucky Place has gone up 3 here, should he have gone up 7? Because the horses were running so poorly. It's a tricky one to know where to draw the line in terms of what should and shouldn't be marked up and down, taking into account trainer form or ulcers or injuries and things like that. So Lucky Place, as I said, finished 4th in the Coral Cup. Ran a really good race for 4th. And his last 2 runs at Cheltenham have now been good. He finished 2nd to Gidley Castle. Gidley something, isn't it? Let's just have a look. Make sure we get it right. Always good to get your facts right rather than just guessing. Gidley Park. No, it didn't sound right. 2nd to Gidley Park in a Grade 2. Then went into the Coral Cup. Ran a really good race for 4th. Travelled really nicely. You can see actually he reduced by 96.65%. Let's just load up that race and have a look to see what price he did trade at. Another good thing with our ratings is you can actually see the prices that they traded at, they're low. Here we go. He traded as short as 2.24, so 5 to 4 in the run. And I can understand why. When he was sweeping around the outside, I thought was the biggest danger to Langan. Now, with the form of the yard in mind, they've got to be looking at something better with him, and he's only a 5-year-old, so I wonder whether they still might think they've got a graded horse on their hands. And if they do, they might as well pick up a handicap first. He's only rated 140, so you can certainly run him in a handicap. And the handicap I'd be aiming him at is this one at Cheltenham on Wednesday the 17th of April. It's this Kingston Stud handicap hurdle. It's over 2.5 mile. It's not as competitive as the Coral Cup, but he would certainly... I think he would win it off 140, and then next season they can target some better races with him. They did actually have a runner in this race last year. It was Bold Endeavour, and he finished a good 2nd behind Williston. They both went on to Haydock for a Potemps feature race there at Haydock and finished 1st and 2nd again. So, you could suggest that Nicky might want to go one better this year with Lucky Place and win the handicap at Cheltenham in April. Moving on, back to another Dan Skelton horse, and that is Playful Saint. Now, if you remember my video, and even my horses to follow, Playful Saint appeared in that at the beginning of the season, off the back of his 3rd in the Imperial Cup. Now, he wasn't seen for 336 days? 366 days before he returned at Stratford in a handicap hurdle. I think it was 3 runners, nothing to see here sort of thing. It was purely a fitness run, and yet he ran really well. Handicap was a bit harsh. He put him up £3 to 134, but he's only 134. I think Playful Saint is still better than that. And I wonder whether Dan might try and win another race at the Aintree Festival. This 2 mile handicap for conditional jockeys and amateur riders at the end of the Friday card, I think Playful Saint could certainly run there, and I think he would go very close. It's not the best race. Dan has got a couple of useful conditional jockeys he could use, including Tristan Durrell. Reward Tristan for his good performances this year by sending him to Aintree to ride, hopefully, a winner. I think he would go very, very close. If we look at like this run back here at Sandown, let's see who he was being beaten by. He was being beaten by Love Envoy and finishing just in front of En Public. Yeah, I said that right. That's really good form. That's stronger form than what he would need to win the race at Aintree, in my opinion. And with that fitness run under his belt, I think he would go very close in this conditional jockeys race. We move on, and it's another Dan Skelton horse. He's getting some nicely handicapped horses, I think, to finish the season strongly. And the horse here is West Balboa, who's dropped £1 to 141. Now, he's another one I think will go back to Aintree, or go to Aintree, for the 3 mile handicap, this Bridle Road handicap hurdle. He ran in this race last year, and he actually won it. I'm saying he, is West Balboa he? No, she, sorry. She ran in it, and she won. And she won comfortably. She ran away from Pounding Poet and Good Time Johnny and Mill Green, etc. Yeah, she won that so comfortably that if you put her in back in it this year off 141, off a £6 higher mark, I don't think that would be enough. I think West Balboa would win that, and again, it's another 42 grand that Dan could be adding to his trainer's pot to be targeting that trainer's championship. Got to remember as well, West Balboa, when she finished 10th here in December, she went off 5 to 4. No, she went off 3 to 1. Sorry. She went off 3 to 1, but let's have a look at what race it was. 3 to 1 favourite for the Grade 1 long walk. I mean, okay, she wasn't good enough for that. Well, I think that was her first run back. No, it wasn't, but she disappointed that day for sure. But put her back into a handicap, and I think she will go very, very close in the Bridle Road handicap. I actually think if she ran to what she did at the race where she won it last year, she'd win it again. So she's one I'm definitely keen to keep an eye on, West Balboa, particularly if she goes back to Aintree. The next horse I want to talk about, there seems to be a bit of a pattern here between Nicky Henderson's and Dan Skelton's. Dan Skelton getting his horses handicapped, Nicky Henderson's being handicapped based on being out of form. So the next one is Highland, who dropped £2 for finishing 14th in the Potemps final. Now, that was a disappointing run for sure. But you'll notice that he generally been targeted at races on good to soft or good, and yet come Cheltenham, he had to run on soft. It was soft and heavy in places. It didn't work. He disappointed. Handicapper was kind and dropped him £2. I think, if you look at his Newbury run, where that was the last time he ran on conditions he wanted, over a trip he wanted, he ran in a really good race there, finishing 3rd behind Ho, Jolie, Smoke and Ed Keeper. That's really good form. And interesting, but I don't think we've seen that Ho, Jolie, Smoke since, have we? Let's just load that up and have a look. And finished 3rd. Really good performance that is. Didn't get the ground at Cheltenham. Find a run next time. Let's just load up Ho, Jolie, Smoke to make sure he's not run. Find a race for him next time. And I think this Potemps Network long distance handicap hurdle, 26 grand to win it. They finished 2nd with Bold Endeavour last year, Nicky Henderson. I think they could win it this year if they send Highland there, because it's likely to be on better ground in that race isn't until May. Let's just have a quick check on Ho, Jolie, Smoke. Has he run since? He hasn't. He is one that you definitely need to keep an eye out for. Maybe Dan has held that one back. Couple more to go over hurdles, starting with Might I, or the next one is Might I, who's dropped £2 to 140. Now, that was a relatively disappointing run in the Coral Cup, when didn't jump great, made a couple of bad mistakes to be fair, but they'd been mixing it around again. Like, he's never had, or the last 2 seasons, his campaigning has been very, very weird. So last season, after finishing 2nd at Aintree, went to a 3 mile race at Haydock, in November, then went to a 2-mile race in January, then went to a 2.5 in March, came back this season, went chasing back to hurdles, has never turned up at Cheltenham, or the last 2 seasons hasn't turned up at Cheltenham, off the back of running in a similar race. And I just think that might be playing his chances a little bit. Next time, I'd like to see them stick to 2.5 mile. And if Nurse Susan, who I mentioned earlier, doesn't get to Aintree, Might I over 2.5 at Aintree would certainly have a chance. He's only had the one run at Aintree. That's here. He finished second. You're like, okay, great, second. But let's have a look at the form of the race. It was a Grade 1. He was beating North Lodge, Nell's Son, Good Risk at All, Colonel Mustard, some decent handicappers or graded horses. Stage Star was well beaten. He was only beaten by 3 Striped Life, who would have been a top-class Grade 1 horse had we not lost that one in Ireland the following season over fences. Go back to Aintree, over 2.5 mile, in a handicap. Surely he would have a massive chance. As I've mentioned, it is that 2.5 mile William Hill handicap. If both Nurse Susan and Mai Tai turned up, I'd be more keen on Nurse Susan for sure. But Mai Tai I'm pretty confident, will run a big race here. The final one over hurdles, Petit Tonnerre. So Petit Tonnerre dropped back in trip for the county hurdle, and they crawled. Now, for a horse who wants 2.5 mile or a strongly run 2 mile, a crawl over 2 mile really didn't suit. And the handicapper dropped him £4 for that. I thought that was very generous, considering things were completely against him that day, or the way the race was run was completely against him. £4 drop is really kind. I'd be sending him here to this 2.5 mile handicap at Aintree after. So this is in May, not the April Aintree meeting. This is May. Get him back to winning. Win this race. It's only worth 10 grand, but then you can get some confidence back into the horse, and then you can kick on again next season over 2.5 mile in handicaps. Chasing probably hasn't worked. Keep him to 2 hurdles. Keep him to 2.5 mile, and I think they can find some races with him. Even returning eventually in February to like this race where he was 5th. The decent handicap. What was this worth? This was worth a bit of prize money, I think. Oh, only 26. I thought it was worth more than that. But yeah, these are the types of races that I think we'll see Petit Tonnerre in. But to do that, get him a win, get him some confidence, and go and win at Aintree. So they are my horses over hurdles. I think the key ones here, do you know what? I really like them all, but Lo de Sud winning the running in the Scottish Champion hurdle, I'd be hugely confident of a massive run there, and I think he will take all of the beating.